The only difference between nirvana being a world in which everything works perfectly and the policy is absolutely precise and efficient, and where we are right now is that the wrong people are in charge. The dummies are in charge. They don't know enough. He knows enough. Let him tell them what to do. If they would only follow his advice, the world would be a better place. And I think the deification of this particular analytical exercise that we're engaged in is a mistake.
This one is from BB. Dear Professor Loury, can you name and discuss some of the core traditional concepts in economics that you feel haven't completely stood up to more recent scrutiny? For example, economists back to Sowell's time were very concerned about the effect of the minimum wage on employment, yet in the last decade, several cities have passed their own minimum wage laws, often around $15 per hour, without prices nor employment vastly affected. There may be other examples, such as the Phillips curve or Nairu, Nairu. Also related, just broadly interested in your personal thoughts on which core economic concepts have caused the biggest cleavage in the field. Thank you. That's from BB.
Well, I don't agree with the premise of the question that the economic insight that minimum wages are an inefficient way to address the problem of people not generating enough income for themselves from labor has been disproven by the facts. I don't agree with that. There's a dispute. I would call the viewers' attention to the work of David Newmark, who's an economist at the University of California, Santa Barbara, who has written a number of interesting papers. Perhaps we could link on this issue. The work of David Card is, I think, what the viewer may have in mind. A study comparing the effect of minimum wage laws across the state lines between New Jersey and Pennsylvania, using different policies in the states to identify changes that should, if the theory were correct, the theory being that you would lose jobs at the low end, and abet the substitution away from low-wage labor through technological reactions of the low-wage employers. They substitute machines for people in order to avoid having to pay the higher wage and all that kind of stuff. Card finds that those effects are not observable in comparing New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And Newmark has a critique of those studies, and I think Newmark has the better of it, frankly. Look, demand curve slope downward. You raise the price of something, people will buy less of it. You raise the price of low-wage labor, people will buy less of it. That's an article of faith for an economist, and I think it's borne out by experience, broadly speaking. I do think the Phillips curve was the idea that there's a stable, over time relationship between inflation and unemployment, and there's a trade-off involved in the two, and you can have more inflation but less unemployment, and you can build policy on that. And I don't know that has stood up very well over time. But I'm a neoliberal economist, by which I mean I believe in the basic teachings of the discipline, and I think that over the course of history, the facts are on our side. We conventional economists. Let me just say to you guys as an aside, I know I'm an economist, but I don't necessarily have anything smart to say about everybody's pet peeve about economics. So
why do you find I'm inferring these questions less, if not interesting, then less generative than maybe other kinds of questions?
They put me on the spot, and they ask for expertise that I don't necessarily have, and I don't like faking it. I don't like pretending that I know something that I don't really know. And you're the economist; you got a PhD, so saying I don't know doesn't seem to be an acceptable answer, even when it's the most accurate answer. So it puts me on the spot.
I mean, since we may or may not leave this in, I might as well just say it.
Yeah.
Isn't this you getting hoist by, if not your own petard, then the petard of the discipline, which often seems as though it thinks it has every answer for every question and that every question can be answered via economic. Now, I know you've spoken about this and you have an elaborate, you have a very thought out critique of social science in general as a field that can't measure up to the philosophical task that it often puts to itself. But I just wonder how much of this is people responding to the way that economists portray themselves sometimes.
We should leave this in. I think that's a good point. And I think you're right. I think we know-it-alls, and I use my friend and colleague Larry Kotlakov as an example of this. And this point comes up in the conversation we had recently because he believes in these models. He thinks that the only difference between nirvana being a world in which everything works perfectly and the policy is absolutely precise and efficient, and where we are right now is that the wrong people are in charge. The dummies are in charge. They don't know enough. He knows enough. Let him tell them what to do. If they would only follow his advice, the world would be a better place. And I think the deification, I was going to say reification, but it's really deification of this particular analytical exercise that we're engaged in, as if it can answer all the questions of the world, is a mistake. And I mean, the primary question it can't answer is what should we want? Who are we? What kind of people are we? What's a good life? What's an ideal society? Those are the fundamental questions, and those are questions that economic expertise doesn't have any answers to. Larry Summers, I'm quoting Larry Summers, said, "We economists should be on tap, not on top." He's right. He's not right about a lot of stuff, but he's right about that. We, consult in the context of a broader, wiser, deeper, more legitimate set of institutional framework that then leads to public action. Consult the economists, but don't expect the economists to give you the answer.